Assalamualaikum to my panels. My name is Muhamad Aiman Mustaqim bin Arif Hazmi, and I will present the title of my final year project, which is Taguchi based quality and performance modeling of 3D printed thin wall part. I will continue on the content. On the content, there are 6 things that will be discussed, namely introduction that I will cover in more depth, problem statement, objective project that I handle, scope, and limitations on the project. First, research study, that is literature review, and finally is methodology, where is my way handle the project. For the introduction, I will tell you briefly about my project. Taguchi method means statistical method, which is used to straighten the design of a material or manufacturing process. It was created by Genichi Taguchi to improve the quality of manufactured goods, and now it is widely used in engineering, biotechnology, marketing, and advertising. Various other fields use the Taguchi method to streamline the process. Now, I will proceed to the problems I have encountered in my title. To use thin wall parts in 3D printing, thickness is the cause. This is because the thinner the 3D printing part, the more fragile the structure. Here is the Taguchi method, where we can optimize the thin wall parts to determine the quality and the performance of the part. Now, I will continue to my project objective. The main objective of this research is to learn how thin the 3D printing can be printed. Next, I will use Taguchi method to determine the optimization on the quality and the performance of the thin wall part of 3D printing. And finally, it is my job to verify the thin wall parts is robust so that the research study is successful. For the scope of research on the project I am handling is the use of materials, wall thickness, as well as extraction temperature. So, for the material use, I use polyethylene, that means PLA, as a filament for this research. Next is the wall thickness. For this research, I use 3 mm thinner and below to print. And finally, for extraction temperatures, I use temperature as high as 210 degrees Celsius to 230 degrees Celsius. In the literature review, I look for various researchers for reference. Among them are those found in this slide. The found that in this slide is the use of honeycomb patterns for thin wall object. The researcher noted that repeated patterns are used not only to lighten the weight, but to facilitate the removal of untreated materials. Next, on manufacturing part optimization on 3D printing using Taguchi method. The researcher state that using the Taguchi method can use 81 experimental runs to only 9 and includes the main factor that researcher use. Next, on the topic of 3D printing thin wall section using fused fabrication filament, researchers stated using material such as ABS, PLA, and nylon filament, the material is considered as rigid material at room temperature. The second last on the topic of optimization on 3D printing parameters on screw extrusion type for ceramic using Taguchi method. Researchers say that the Taguchi method is used to obtain constant linear velocity by optimizing the parameters. Lastly, is the evaluation of quality and performance of thin wall parts using 3D printing as well as Taguchi method. Researchers use the design of experiments and 9 models of the same size are manufactured in low-cost 3D printing using PLA. Last on the slide is methodology. In this slide, there is a flow chart. Here it can be seen I started with the identification on the existing problems and I continue on literature review for Taguchi method, 3D printing and thin wall parts. Next, I continue by isolating the parameters and method I use that is next to the Taguchi method. There are 3 parts, namely loss functions, offline quality control, and design of experiment. And on the side of parameter printing, which is the parameter on the printing is the use of materials, wall thickness, and extraction temperature. And I proceed to the develop of the model with the available parameters and methods. Next, I separate between experimental setup and existing model to compare on data collection. Finally, I validated the test of the experiment. So, as in the previous flowchart, for this project, I used Taguchi method to evaluate the thickness on the 3D printing of thin wall parts, after which the parameters to be used are based on the scope, which is the material used, wall thickness, and temperature extraction. Finally, I evaluate the result based on the quality and the performance of the printed part. That's it for presentation from me on the topic I research. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.